Hello, miladies of inestimable value. When a Sigma female is done playing nice, the world will know. It's not just a mood shift, it's a paradigm shift. Imagine the calm before a storm where everything seems eerily quiet, but you know it's coming. She's been holding back, walking the fine line between grace and assertiveness, but once she decides she's had enough, brace yourself for the seismic change. Gone is the charming, easygoing version of her you might have once known. What you're about to witness is a force of nature in its purest form. The Sigma female doesn't wear her power like a badge. She wears it like a second skin, silently evolving until the moment she simply snaps, not out of frustration, but out of the cold realization that she deserves more than to play nice. And when that moment comes, well, she'll leave you wondering why you ever thought you could take her for granted in the first place. Fact. The Sigma female operates on her own terms, but there's a threshold. Once crossed, she doesn't just shut people out. She redefines her entire existence. And trust me, you'll want to witness how she takes control. Spoiler alert. It's never pretty for anyone who's been in her way. Number 1. She stops caring about perceptions. She stops caring about perceptions. It's not that she was ever deeply concerned with what others thought. It's that when a Sigma female decides she's done being nice, she's finally free from the weight of the world's expectations. For most people, validation is like air. They need it to survive. But for her, it's like a choice between breathing and holding her breath. She chooses to breathe when she wants, and holds her breath when the world becomes too loud, too demanding, or too fake. There's something quietly devastating about her newfound indifference. People are used to seeing her bend, to seeing her put others' needs first, to seeing her give even when it's not reciprocated. She's been generous with her time, her energy, her kindness. But the moment she stops caring about how others see her, everything shifts. That gentle approach she had, it's replaced by a raw, unapologetic confidence that refuses to conform. She doesn't need to prove herself anymore. Her authenticity becomes a silent declaration that says, "I'm here, take me or leave me, but either way, I'm not waiting for your approval." She stops changing her voice to fit into different rooms, stops wearing smiles to keep the peace, and stops apologizing for the very qualities that make her unique. The moment a Sigma female is done playing nice, her power lies in that utter disregard for how others perceive her actions, words, or decisions. It's liberating for her, and terrifying for anyone who is used to her being nice, because they didn't expect her to step into her own power. What's even more powerful about this is that she's not confrontational about it. She simply stops engaging in the things that used to matter. If you've crossed her, you won't get an emotional outburst or a detailed explanation. She just won't be around anymore. Her silence is louder than any rant could ever be, and her absence is more noticeable than any apology could ever be. She's done playing nice because she's realized that the world doesn't get to dictate who she should be or how she should show up. And once she steps into that mindset, the game is over. Number 2. She cuts off the energy drains. The moment a Sigma female is done playing nice, energy drains don't stand a chance. She's been polite, understanding, and possibly even tried to give people the benefit of the doubt. But when she decides enough is enough, anyone who's been siphoning her energy is cut off without a second glance. There's no hesitation, no guilt, no drawn-out farewell. She simply removes them from her world, like deleting an unnecessary app from her phone. It's efficient, clean, and final. She doesn't feel bad about it, not even a little. Because the truth is, she doesn't owe anyone anything, especially not her time or energy. She's spent years refining the art of self-sufficiency, and she knows her worth. Why would she waste her precious resources on people who only take and never give? She's got bigger, more important things to focus on than nurturing leeches who drag her down. Her inner peace is a treasure, and she'll protect it at all costs. Energy drains, those people who constantly demand her time without contributing anything meaningful in return, are the first to go. It's not personal, it's just the way she operates. Her peace and sanity are non-negotiable. If you're not contributing to that, then you're taking away from it, and she won't tolerate that. This isn't some dramatic breakup where emotions run high and words are exchanged. It's a quiet, strategic withdrawal. She won't announce it. She won't make a scene. she'll just stop responding. No more texts, no more calls, no more energy given. People who were once in her orbit will find themselves suddenly on the outside, wondering where they went wrong. But the truth is, they weren't giving her the things she needed, and she was too smart to keep investing in people who didn't serve her growth. She's built her life around people who add value, who challenge her, who bring something worthwhile to the table. If you're not on that level, don't expect her to waste another minute on you. Her self-sufficiency isn't just a choice. It's a survival instinct. And when she's done with the energy drains, she's free to focus on what truly matters: her own peace, her own growth, and her own future. Number 3. She stops apologizing for her strength. Once a Sigma female is done playing nice, apologizing for her strength becomes a thing of the past. For years, she may have softened her edges, downplayed her ambition, or tried to dim her drive to fit into someone else's idea of what a woman should be. Not anymore. She's had enough of shrinking herself to make others feel more comfortable. If her ambition makes people uncomfortable, that's their problem, not hers. She's finally reached the point where she realizes that her strength isn't something to apologize for. It's something to own, to flaunt, to be proud of. No more pretending to be too sweet or too modest to avoid intimidating others. She knows exactly what she brings to the table, and she refuses to dull her shine just to make people feel better. If people can't handle her independence, her drive, or her confidence, she won't waste a second trying to tone it down. She's no longer the girl who second-guessed herself to avoid conflict. She's the woman who boldly steps into any room, unapologetically herself, and stands tall in her own power. Her ambition isn't a flaw, it's a force. Her independence isn't a weakness, it's her superpower. She's done with the notion that strong women are too much. She knows that the world needs women like her to push boundaries, to break barriers, and to show that ambition doesn't come in soft, neat packages. It comes in raw, unapologetic, untamed forms. What people fail to understand is that a Sigma female's strength isn't about overpowering others. It's about owning her space without fear or hesitation. It's about not apologizing for what she wants or where she's going. She's learned that there's no shame in wanting more and being unafraid to take it. If that makes others feel uneasy, she's not losing sleep over it. They can either adjust to her powerful presence or get out of the way. In the past, she may have wondered if she should tone it down, whether her ambitions were too much for the world around her. But now, she's unapologetic, and anyone who can't keep up can take a step back. The days of apologizing for her strength are long gone. Number 4. She becomes her own best friend. When a Sigma female is done playing nice, she doesn't just rely on others for validation. She becomes her own best friend. She's learned that the world doesn't always get her, and honestly, she's reached the point where that's no longer a problem. People might misunderstand her, question her decisions, or even try to impose their expectations on her, but none of it matters. She's perfectly content in her own company. She doesn't need anyone's approval to feel whole. Her sense of self-reliance has evolved into a powerful form of independence that makes her even more formidable. It's not that she's isolated or withdrawn. It's that she's developed a deep, unshakable relationship with herself. She knows what she likes, what she needs, and what she doesn't. Her internal world is rich and vibrant, and she's no longer dependent on external sources to feel validated or fulfilled. Her company is more than enough. She's comfortable in her own thoughts, her own routine, and her own presence. Where others might seek external affirmation, she's found peace and strength in her own quiet corners. This self-sufficiency isn't born out of bitterness or a desire to shut people out. It's a product of years of self-discovery and personal growth. She's realized that she's the only one who can truly understand her on the deepest level. No one knows her like she knows herself, and because of that, she's her most loyal companion. When she's feeling down or questioning things, she doesn't need someone else to pull her out of it. She has the tools to lift herself back up, to guide herself through the rough patches with the same kindness and compassion she would offer a close friend. As a result, this makes her far more formidable than any person who relies on the validation of others. When someone can find contentment in their own company, they're virtually untouchable. They can face challenges without crumbling under pressure, knowing that their sense of self-worth doesn't hinge on the approval or understanding of anyone else. She doesn't need anyone to fill a void because she's already complete. And when you reach that level of inner strength, nothing, no one can take that away from you. The Sigma female in this space becomes an unshakable force because she's no longer just trying to fit into the world's expectations. She's created her own. Number 5. She fears nothing. When a Sigma female is done playing nice, fear becomes an obsolete concept in her world. The things that once held power over her, fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being alone, no longer have any grip on her. She's evolved past them. These fears used to play on her insecurities, whispering doubts and keeping her small. But now, they've been relegated to the past, buried under layers of self-empowerment and strength. She no longer fears rejection. She's learned that rejection isn't a reflection of her worth. It's simply a sign that someone or something wasn't aligned with who she is. She doesn't lose sleep over the opinions of others, nor does she spend time trying to mold herself into something she's not just to be accepted. If people don't accept her for who she is, she lets them go. Rejection becomes just another stepping stone, not a setback. Fear of conflict is just as foreign to her now. Once, she might have tried to avoid confrontation, carefully tiptoeing around difficult situations in an attempt to keep the peace. But now, she understands that conflict isn't inherently bad. It's a tool for resolution and growth. She's no longer afraid to speak her mind, to stand up for what she believes in, or to call out what's wrong. Conflict becomes something she can handle with grace, a challenge she's perfectly capable of navigating. She doesn't run from it. She faces it head-on. The fear of being alone is gone too. There's a deep peace in solitude that she's come to appreciate. She's not scared of being alone because she knows she can rely on herself for happiness and fulfillment. She doesn't need the validation of others to feel whole. Her alone time isn't a void. It's where she thrives, where she reflects, and where she recharges. She's learned to cherish her own company and sees it as a source of strength, not isolation. When she's done playing nice, she enters a realm where fear simply doesn't exist. She's untouchable, unstoppable, and unbothered by the things that once kept her bound. Nothing can hold her back now because she's learned to navigate the world with confidence, authenticity, and an unshakable belief in herself. Fear is no longer an obstacle. It's a distant memory, irrelevant in a life where she's fully in control. Number 6. Her resentment turns into quiet strength. When a Sigma female is done playing nice, resentment doesn't have a chance to linger. She doesn't let it fester, doesn't let it build into something that can poison her. But make no mistake, if you've crossed her, she'll feel it. And when she does, it's not about revenge or holding grudges. It's about transformation. She takes that resentment and uses it as fuel, but not for destruction. She channels it into something far more potent, strength, power, and an unwavering resilience. Unlike some who dwell in their anger, letting bitterness take over and cloud their judgment, a Sigma female has learned how to let go of those toxic feelings in her own time. She processes it. She feels the sting of betrayal or hurt, acknowledges it, and then, almost alchemically, turns it into something useful. Resentment isn't allowed to consume her. It becomes a spark that ignites her personal growth and propels her forward. It's the raw material for her evolution. She doesn't lash out in an emotional outburst, nor does she sit in a place of bitterness and wallow. Instead, she refines herself through her resentment. It pushes her to sharpen her skills, to get more focused on her goals, to become even more determined to succeed. Every time someone wrongs her, she sees it as an opportunity to build more fortitude. It's not about seeking vengeance. It's about learning, growing, and becoming even more formidable than before. This quiet strength that comes from her resentment is what sets her apart. She doesn't let the world see her shaken or rattled. While others may wear their hurt on their sleeves or allow it to weigh them down, she wears her pain like a hidden armor. It's not visible to everyone, but it's there, silently fortifying her. The moment she channels that energy, it becomes a silent power that people around her can feel, even if they can't quite see it. At the end of the day, she's too focused on her own growth to let resentment have the final say. Instead of letting it hold her back, she uses it to propel her forward, to fuel her determination, and to build a version of herself that's even stronger, more resilient, and more unstoppable than ever before. Number 7. She becomes unstoppable. When a Sigma female is done playing nice, the world might as well step aside because she becomes unstoppable. There's something about that moment when she realizes she doesn't need anyone's approval, and that she's carried herself this far on her own terms, that turns her into a force of nature. The barriers, the naysayers, the challenges, they might try to stand in her way, but they won't even faze her. She's been tempered in the fires of her own journey, shaped by her struggles, her independence, and her relentless drive. Nothing can break her now. She's already weathered storms that would have torn most people apart, and each trial has only made her more powerful. Where others would buckle under pressure, she rises. When life throws its worst at her, she takes it in stride. It's not because she's immune to pain or hardship. It's because she's learned how to use it. Every setback becomes fuel, every challenge a lesson. And the more life tests her, the more she becomes convinced of one undeniable truth. She is unbreakable. This transformation is more than just mental strength. It's about a fierce, unyielding belief in herself. She doesn't just have resilience. She has an unwavering certainty that nothing will stop her from reaching her goals. She's learned that obstacles are simply opportunities in disguise, and the more she's faced, the sharper and more determined she's become. Her focus is razor sharp, and once she sets her mind on something, there is no force in the world that can pull her off course. The world might try to knock her down, but all it does is polish her resolve. She becomes like a stone that the waves can batter, but never truly wear down. Her sense of self is so deeply rooted that nothing, no failure, no opinion, no criticism, can shake her foundation. She doesn't have time for doubt or fear anymore. She moves with the quiet confidence of someone who knows exactly what they're capable of. And anyone who thought they could take her down, they'll soon learn that when a Sigma female decides she's done playing nice, she's simply unstoppable. Number 8. Her trust becomes a rare commodity. When a Sigma female is done playing nice, her trust becomes a rare and precious commodity. She doesn't give it away freely anymore because she's learned the hard way that trust, once broken, is incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to rebuild. When someone betrays her, it's not just a matter of forgiving and forgetting. She doesn't forget. Not really. She redefines how she connects with people, shifting the way she builds relationships from automatic trust to something much more guarded and deliberate. Now, trust must be earned. It's not a given, and it's certainly not handed out without careful consideration. She's no longer the person who blindly believes in others, willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. Experience has taught her that people often don't deserve that. Betrayal, disappointment, and broken promises have taught her that trust is not just a feel-good sentiment. It's a currency, and once it's spent, it's incredibly hard to replenish. So when someone violates her trust, the consequences are far-reaching. She doesn't just cut them off in a moment of anger. She shifts her perception of them entirely. They're no longer the person she thought they were, and that space in her heart or mind that once housed them, it's sealed up tight. The thing about her trust is that it's no longer a passive thing. She doesn't just assume everyone deserves it. She gives it sparingly, watching and waiting for people to prove they're worthy. Actions speak louder than words, and she's learned that the only way to truly understand someone's character is to watch how they behave over time. She isn't fooled by flattery or promises anymore. She wants consistency. She demands integrity. If someone has shown her that they can be trusted, she's willing to let them in again, but they'll have to earn it. And if they break it again, they're gone. There's no second guessing. No, maybe they'll change. She doesn't do that anymore. In the end, her trust isn't something you can expect. It's something you have to prove yourself worthy of. And once she's learned to value it, to protect it as fiercely as she does, it becomes the rarest thing in her life, something that's given only to those who truly deserve it, and something that, once broken, may never return. Number 9. She becomes extremely self-aware. When a Sigma female is done playing nice, she becomes intensely self-aware. She knows exactly who she is, her strengths, her weaknesses, and most importantly, her limits. This self-awareness isn't a casual, surface-level understanding. It's a deep, honest reckoning with herself. She's done the hard work of reflection and introspection, and now she knows exactly what she can handle, what she excels at, and where she might need to improve. There's no delusion, no ego. She understands her true value in a way that others simply can't ignore. She doesn't waste time pretending to be something she's not, nor does she waste energy chasing after validation from people who don't truly see her. She's learned that time is one of her most precious resources, and she's selective about where she invests it. She knows that there's a limited amount of it, and so she's ruthless with how she spends it. If someone doesn't see her worth, if they don't respect her time, energy, and presence, she's gone. No second chances. She doesn't tolerate being undervalued because she knows that she has no time for anything less than what she deserves. This awareness of her own value gives her a power that most people will never understand. When you know who you are and what you bring to the table, there's no room for doubt. She doesn't question herself or wonder if she's good enough. She's already answered that question. And because she's done the work to get to this place of clarity, she's no longer swayed by external opinions or the need for others to validate her existence. She's aware of her worth, and that's all that matters. In relationships, whether personal or professional, she doesn't settle. She's aware of the energy she brings and expects the same level of respect and value in return. If someone isn't aligned with her or doesn't appreciate the uniqueness she brings to the table, she'll cut them off without a second thought. Time spent with someone who doesn't see her for who she is time wasted, something she's no longer willing to do. This level of self-awareness makes her a magnet for people who recognize her worth, but also makes it nearly impossible for anyone to take advantage of her. She knows exactly what she's worth, and she's not about to give that away to anyone who isn't deserving of it. Number 10. She expects unapologetic respect. When a Sigma female is done playing nice, she stops begging for respect. She's reached a point where she no longer tolerates being overlooked, disrespected, or undervalued by anyone. Respect is no longer something she has to ask for or earn. It's a fundamental expectation. It's non-negotiable. She understands her worth so deeply that she expects others to treat her accordingly. There's no more please or thank you for basic decency. Respect is simply part of the deal. If someone can't meet her standards, if they show her disrespect, she won't hesitate to walk away. And this isn't some dramatic exit. It's the quiet, firm decision to disengage from anything or anyone that doesn't treat her with the regard she deserves. She doesn't need to argue, to plead her case, or to justify why she deserves to be treated well. Her actions are enough to make it clear, if you can't show respect, she's gone. What makes her truly unshakable in this regard is the clarity she has about herself. She knows her value, and because of that, she refuses to accept anything less than what she's worth. She's not interested in forcing anyone to respect her or wasting time on people who are incapable of offering it. She won't beg for attention, affection, or acknowledgement. She understands that respect is a two-way street, and if it's not being reciprocated, there's no room for that relationship in her life. Her boundaries have become solid, and she's no longer afraid to enforce them. It's not out of anger or bitterness, it's out of self-preservation. She won't allow herself to remain in situations where she's treated like an afterthought, where her contributions are undervalued, or where her time and energy are wasted. If someone can't respect her boundaries, her space, or her time, she knows there are plenty of other people who will. In the past, she might have given people second chances, or allowed herself to be mistreated out of a sense of obligation or desire to keep the peace. Not anymore. When a Sigma female is done playing nice, respect is a given, not a favor, and anyone who can't meet that standard will find themselves on the outside without so much as a second glance. Number 11. Her conversations get sharper. When a Sigma female is done playing nice, her conversations become weapons of precision. She's no longer interested in smoothing things over or trying to make everyone feel comfortable. The days of biting her tongue or softening her words are over. Her speech gets sharper, more direct, and far more intentional. There's no room for filler or pleasantries anymore. Her words hit their mark and they don't waste time dancing around issues. If she has something to say, she says it, and she says it without hesitation. She's learned that there's no point in being vague or indirect, especially when the stakes are high. Why sugarcoat the truth or tiptoe around a subject when she can be clear and unambiguous? Her words are like lasers, cutting through the nonsense and getting straight to the heart of the matter. She's not here to make people feel comfortable with the truth. She's here to make sure they hear it. And if they don't like it, that's not her problem. This sharpness in conversation isn't an act of hostility. It's a reflection of her clarity. She's done wasting her energy on passive-aggressive remarks or half-hearted attempts to please others. If she wants to address something, she'll address it. If someone's behavior is out of line, she'll call it out. If she doesn't agree with something, she'll say so. She doesn't have time to play games or pretend she agrees with something she doesn't. Every word she speaks has a purpose, either to inform, to clarify, or to set boundaries. In a world where so many people are afraid to speak up or say what's on their mind for fear of conflict, the Sigma female is a refreshing change. She's not afraid to make waves. If anything, she welcomes the opportunity to stir the pot and expose the truth. If someone is uncomfortable with her directness, she doesn't care. Her focus is on what needs to be said, not on how it might make someone feel. Her conversations are no longer about appeasing others. They're about communicating with intention, power, and precision. And in that, she's unstoppable. In the end, when a Sigma female is done playing nice, she transcends the limitations that once held her back. She no longer seeks validation, fears rejection, or attempts to control every aspect of her life. Instead, she becomes a force of nature, self-sufficient, unapologetically powerful, and fiercely authentic. Her journey is not about becoming something she's not. It's about shedding the layers of expectation and pretense that society, family, and even her own doubts may have placed on her. She stands firm in her truth, embracing her dark side and acknowledging her strength with no apologies. She doesn't just survive. She thrives in her own space, no longer bound by the need to please, to fit in, or to follow the rules set by anyone but herself. She becomes the embodiment of resilience, a woman who knows exactly who she is, what she wants, and what she's capable of. Her peace, once fragile, becomes a fortress. Her heart, once burdened with the weight of expectations, beats with the freedom of self-acceptance. And her mind, sharp as ever, cuts through the noise and distractions that once threatened to steal her focus. In this space, she's no longer playing a role or fitting herself into a mold. She's living fully, boldly, and without apology. The world may try to hold her back, to label her as too much or too little, but she is beyond their reach. She has mastered the art of being unapologetically herself in every way that matters. And as she steps forward, unshaken and unapologetic, the world will finally see her for exactly who she is. Unstoppable, unbreakable, and completely in control of her own destiny. If you've resonated with this powerful journey of the Sigma female, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content that dives deep into the truths that others often overlook. Hit that like button if you're ready to embrace your own strength and stop playing nice. Drop a comment below. Let's start a conversation. Share this with anyone who needs to hear these real, unapologetic truths. And remember, it's not about fitting in. It's about owning your power and living life on your own terms. See you in the next one.